Good night, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Random But Relevant, presented by My Block TV. I'm your host, Oswald Williams. Adia couldn't be here with us today, but shout out to Adia out of Philly. Today, we are honored to have the hip-hop motivator himself, Mr. Yatta Griggs. How you doing, brother?
Hello?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Peace. How's everything, man? I know it sounded like the phone call dropped.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. It's a pleasure to finally get you on the show, bro.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure to be here.
That's a fact. Man, I'm going to be real with you. I want to jump right into this, man, because I follow you all the time on the gram. Actually, I first discovered you, building with Dame on YouTube. And I just been following you ever since, man. You really, for a young brother trying to pursue, any type of independent spirit, like your posts and what you be talking about is just powerful and is motivating. I just appreciate it,
Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
I want to just build on one of your memes you put in, I think it was early this week. You and Dame was building about the law of rhythm.
Yeah.
And just for my audience, could you just break that down again in your own little way for the audience? It's just the law of rhythm and how that works?
Absolutely. Well, there are 7 universal laws, and the law of rhythm happens to be one of them from the ancient teachings of Tahuti out of ancient Kemet, known as also today as Egypt. And the law of rhythm states that the ups match the downs and the downs match the ups. The pendulum swing to the right matches the pendulum swing to the left. And that rhythm compensates. And what that law talks about is that everything in the universe has its own ups and downs that are inescapable. You're gonna, once upon a time we were all young. We started off as children, and we transform into adults, and then from there we transform into elders. And then we transfer in our existence through passing on form and going back to the essence. So everything in the universe holds ups and downs. So the whole key to that principle is to stay above the pendulum swing and look at the downs and the ups as one and the same. Don't get turned all the way up when things are going great, and don't get turned all the way down when things are going bad.
Gotcha.
That's what you have to do. That's what you have to apply.
So it's truly about how you take it on the chin and how you look at it.
Absolutely, and that's that one principle, and the word principle comes from the word principia, means chief, aim, and necessary. It's the chief aim necessary when you hear principle, and that's a principle that we almost live by, which is also where you get the story of the character or the person named Jesus that they talk about within the Bible. Walking on water, meaning that he was above the ebb and flow of life. He was above the ups and the downs, and he looked at both of them as one and the same.
Deep.
And so that was the law of rhythm being played out in that scripture, which are all metaphysical and they're all psychological metaphors that are played out in consciousness. Facts.
Do you feel your impact? Like, do you feel the impact that you having on your followers and the people that follow and your fans?
You know what? I more than anything else, man, I like to circulate as I learn. So what's happening is that I find myself, as I'm teaching and I'm circulating this great information that I'm learning, it is also making me more proficient in talking about these things and actually applying these things. So I don't really look around for as far as the impact, but I know that a lot of people, as of probably I would say the last few months, because I just started recently, chiming in a little bit more with Dame, because Dame, he can talk, and then sometimes it's hard to get a word in. So
that's my guy, though. Everybody
have to do it a certain way. Yeah.
So, I love y'all together, man. I love y'all together,
my
man.
My homeboy, man. I just got off the phone with him too.
That's real. That's real. Big fan. That's my ever right there. Big fan of Dame Dash. But it's about you today. I don't wanna connect the two. I really want to build with you about the knowledge you be dropping.
Absolutely, man.
And no disrespect to Dame, by the way.
Oh no, it ain't no diss. We be clowning all the time. It's a real homeboy. It's my homeboy. So
no doubt.
We talk mess.
How did that relationship build, if you don't mind me asking?
I met him through Jay Brown, who is now the head of Rock Nation.
Got you.
And Jay Brown, I was cutting his hair, and then Jay Brown had me start cutting Dame, Biggs, and the rest of the crew from Rockefeller, including Kanye and all of them. And I always had an affinity with Dame because Dame is one of those people like myself. He likes to circulate as he learns.
Absolutely.
So as you see with the videos, if he learns something or he's going through anything, he looks at it as a learning lesson.
Yeah, Dame definitely give a lot of game
in his
away.
own way, he's became a master of the pendulum swing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And building on another post that you did, and it just so happened to be with Dame, you were talking about your dad, and when you had the your dad made the solution for razor bumps, and how you would see people.
Oh, you talking about my chemist. Chemist. Yeah, he created the razor bump extraction brush.
And
right. As well, he invented the Jheri Curl.
Got you. So I remember you talking about, people, knowing that you had the same product, if not better, than the competitor, and they wouldn't like show love. And I think the whole point was just us having group economics and showing more love to each other as business people. Can you just build on that a little bit? Just tell the people what I'm talking about.
Yeah, when I owned the salon on Crenshaw Boulevard for over 17 years, from the time I was 20 years old all the way up until like my late 30s. And I started my product business in my 20s. Mm-hmm. So at the time, it was really to create passive income because there were certain things I needed to take care of within the salon. And, my clientele was okay, but I felt like I needed to do something else to bring in another income to take care of like the painting, getting new furniture and different things. So I met a guy named Willie Morrow out in San Diego, out here in California, and just so happened he invented the Jheri Curl, and he's a 100% chemist. So he created me 18 different products. I had them in my salon, from relaxer, hair grease, shampoos, conditioners, and he was the person that also taught me that with all these shampoos and conditioners, there's nothing really too much different when you're creating grease, shampoo, and conditioner, but the house mom doesn't even know that, and the consumer doesn't even know that, but a lot of people get thrown off by it, but it's detergent and grease. It's the same thing. So having this product in the shop, a lot of my homeboys that work with me and see me, building, trying to build my business as well as my clientele, and, they were paying me booth rent. They had a problem with breaking the pattern of going to the beauty supply house and spending money with the Koreans and the Asians that own those places instead of spending it with their folks. And I saw that this is a pattern that a lot of black people have, especially people that know you. They have a hard time going in their pocket to help you or to support your business. And it's not all of us, but it's enough of us. Yeah. And I look at that as a psychological deformity that a lot of us have. We rather take the money and we rather take if we need something, take it somewhere else than to give it to someone we know. Because for them to have that dollar means that they're increasing, but we don't like to see people having more, a lot of us, because it makes us look like we have less.
True. What do you think would be some solutions to ending that, though? Because I'm going to be real, before I even ask that question, it was refreshing to hear that because, like, people experience that in all type of social classes, all type of levels. So it was refreshing, but at the same time sad. So I want to know, what would you think would be some logical solutions to just, strategically stop the way of thinking?
Great question. I know for myself, what I did was I started concentrating on building clientele outside of my family and friends. Gotcha. You can't change people. You can only change yourself. You can only change the way you look at things. Mm-hmm. This goes back to the law of rhythm. It's all about how you perceive things to be and how you look at things. And then there is a collective consciousness that goes on when we look at things under the same lens, basically.
Gotcha.
But the main thing I did was I started going to the people that didn't know me and just building my own clientele outside them, and it became a success because they didn't know me. They became loyal customers and loyal clients, including my clientele in the barbershop.
Are you guys gonna bring back the wine and cheese sessions y'all used to do?
You said wine and cheese?
Yeah, I think it was an episode where it was you, Dame, and Redman. The one I seen.
Hey, it's funny, man. People ask about that session all the time, but that just happened to be the wine and cheese came out because we were starving. You know what I'm saying? And it was like 2 a.m. It was crazy. Red was smoking a lot of weed. Mm-hmm. I don't smoke. The contact smoke hit me, and I was in there starving just like him. So it was crazy. You saw him eating off the ground. It was crazy. So.
Nah,
Yeah.
it's refreshing to know you don't really be looking at it like that. But I ain't gonna front, y'all. You and Dame be giving mad game away, and like,
Y'all, man, that's all love, man. That's the whole purpose of hip hop motivation.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so now, so me personally, I found out about you with the sessions you do with Dame. Then I started following you, and now I peeped that you expanded it into doing like a master class. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Absolutely. The master class is connected to my movie that I created, a movie that I did with no budget. All I did was got people that helped me. I talked to a few people that went to the local college for the film school, and I talked. A friend of mine talked to the professor about giving them an extra credit grade if they would help us on the film, and they did. And the guy approved it. So what we did was we started creating this film called The Secret to Balling, and where I would go around and talk to different entertainers, people I know, some people I didn't know, and ask them about their own secrets to success. But it was up under a pattern of questions that I used for each person in the same way.
Nice.
Like asking Snoop about imagination is the same way I asked Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith about imagination.
Wow.
And interestingly enough, when the movie was finished, you know, as they say, success leaves clues. It absolutely left clues within the film, because when you watch it, you start seeing that, oh, okay, so there are some profound things that one needs to do in order to see success on any level. And that's what that movie kind of represents. But with the master class, I throw that with a friend of mine named John Robinson from a group called Science of Life. He's been in the independent game for many years with MF Doom and, you know, that whole circle. And so he's been independent. So we do a class where we kind of network with people, talk to people, get people more the main thing is for them to talk to us about what they're going through and what they're doing, what has been successful for them, and network to connect them with other people that may be able to help them grow in business or whatever they're doing. You know, there's a teaching session in the beginning that I do. I talk about different principles and laws, but the main thing is for people to get into the habit of networking with people and seeing how we can connect the dots and help each other.
Yeah, I'm noticing like when you're on an independent level, what I'm noticing, I blame social media, but I'm noticing like people be too quick to network up instead of across. And like, do you think that's hurts you or hinders you?
You said they're too quick to network with who?
Network up as opposed to networking across.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, a lot of times people look at, you know, with celebrities and people that are on a certain level as far as status goes, they look at those things as being a real secret to success. In a lot of ways it is. And it's funny that my movie, The Secret 2, which is we're working on right now as well, the script, which is TOO, The Secret 2, I'm going a little different route with that one, where I'm not going to have the entertainers in that one, but it's going to be a real movie about one person, a young lady trying to achieve success through things around her, utilizing everything around her. Wow. And a lot of people forget that the streets is where it's at, you know, like the barbershop and the salons. You know, if you're trying to sell something, the best thing you can do is go to the shops that have people coming in and out, because the salons in every neighborhood is like the bloodline to the neighborhood. You know, that's where people connect. And so that's a great way to sell whatever product you're doing or to network with people. But, you know, we network up because, you know, we don't know. We just think that someone is supposed to become the savior. You know, I'm glad you used the word up. You know, we always look up. We always look outside of ourselves. Yeah. We look up instead of looking right where we're at.
True, real true. So is that something the movie thing, that's something that you're doing? That's active. You're going to continue with that?
Oh, absolutely. What we're really working on right now is a Think and Ball Out movie, which was my first project that I created the day I came up with the concept to do hip hop motivation. Mm-hmm. After about an hour after I came up with all this, I was shot 6 times, left for dead, harassed by the cops in that position. I continued to write in the hospital. I got out. And because of that situation, it brought me into the light of what I needed to be doing, which is sticking to my purpose. Barbering was my hobby, but my purpose is writing, creating. I love speaking, so I'm going out, I'm doing talks, and everything. This is the best I've ever felt in my life because I'm on my purpose.
Facts. So, you're part of the Culture Vulture book, right?
I wrote it, yes.
Talk to us a little bit about, you know, like what made you want to be a part of that?
Well, you know, again, like because Dame is very like open with his information and things he's learned in business, I felt like he's the perfect person to speak to and create a book around.
Yeah.
Initially, the book was called Reasonable Clout, but because during the time when I was writing the book, he kept using the word Culture Vulture, I decided to change the name from Reasonable Clout to Culture Vultures, and actually, we're pretty glad we did because that name has been flowing around a lot more than usual as of recent. And we're the first ones with a product with that name tag to it.
Yeah, and Chatty Patty, all that.
Right.
They brought a lot of names to the culture.
Absolutely. So, you know, and Dame is one of those guys, like I said, he circulates information. So who better to get with than a person that is willing and open enough to give back to the culture?
Facts. What's on your playlist right now? What you listening to?
Man, that's a great question. I had, you know, the other day, I've been looking for great R&B. You know what I'm saying? I'm on my cupcake mode.
Yeah, no doubt. We all go through that.
I've got some songs from Dream that sound pretty good. He got this mixtape called Sex Tape. They got a few joints that's hot. But as far as hip hop, I like underground hip hop. Like I like people like MOP. You know, on the West Coast, I like, you know, like the old Compton's Most Wanted, of course, Ice Cube, Death Certificate. America's Most Wanted, you know. I'm a 90s cat, so I like the real hip-hop stuff, you know what I'm saying? Nas, I like, you know, whatever I get my hands on that sounds relevant, you know what I'm saying? It got a dope sound, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Brand Nubian, I was a big fan of Brand Nubian coming up.
I got a chance to see them at my homecoming in Benedict.
Oh, man, I wish I was there because, man, I've never seen them perform live.
Yeah, it was good. Let me ask you something, I always, for some reason, I just assumed you was from North Carolina. Where are you from originally?
I grew up in North Carolina partially. I'm from Los Angeles. I'm born and raised, but I moved around a lot when I was a kid. I lived in Cleveland, Ohio, Warrensville Heights. I lived in Jackson, Tennessee, in a little city called Brownsville, as well as Jackson. I lived in Long Beach when I was back in Cali. I lived in L.A. I lived in San Bernardino, which is about an hour away. So, I had a heavy move around situation when I was growing up. I never stayed in the school longer than 2 years.
Wow. Are you a military baby or something?
Nah, my mom, she just, was trying to find her way, man, and she remarried, and she remarried a truck driver.
Okay.
And we started moving around from there. But what happened was she just was always trying to find the best place for herself as well as her children. So, and I got that. At the time when I was a kid, I hated it because I didn't, no kid wants to be moving around like that because you lose friends and girlfriends and different things, but it taught me how to do without, how to adjust to any situation. So it became a very, very beautiful blessing in my adult years.
All right. Moving on to some serious, like, what was that moment like? Talk to me about what made you truly want to change your life in addition to being shot.
The shooting had very little to do with me getting shot other than I was looking at No More Tomorrows. What it really was that, I was living fast. I was making money. I had owned a salon. I began to become the definition I was giving myself. I was this guy that owned the shop. I had all these girls. I was messing with 2 and 3 girls in the shop at the same time. They didn't know about each other, and they got found out when I went to the hospital. When I'm laying in the bed and I couldn't do nothing about it. That got exposed. That's going to be in the movie Thinking Ball Out. I became responsible for what I wrote on that paper that day about creating projects through hip-hop motivation. I took full responsibility to continue on and do that because it just something came over me to stay focused on that when I was in the hospital. So I was like, damn, this must mean something because, at the same time, we're the producers of our own cause. Our own effects through the cause we produce within our minds and how we feel. And I would have to say that I definitely attracted the shooting to myself because I was tripping off a lot of stuff that was going on in L.A. at the time, on top of living in a certain area. I was staying with this girl that worked at the salon. And I didn't really like where she was living. I was fresh off the divorce. It was a lot going on in my life that I had to change. You know what I'm saying? I was in my 20s running around, spending money, having fun.
I got you. A lot of people don't get to do that. So you're blessed, man. That's at the end of the day. That's
Absolutely.
What that means. So let me ask you this. So you're a family man. I heard Little Man in the background when we did the pre-production stuff.
Absolutely.
Talk to you got a little boy, little girl?
Oh, little boy, I have 6 children. I have my son, who I had at 19 years old. He's 23 years old now.
Wow, that's a blessing, man.
Absolutely, man. I have a daughter in college who's doing very well. My daughter's in high school, and then I have a daughter in junior high school, and then I have my little son.
Oh, so you just look young.
Yeah. And I think it's based on, I live a happy life, man. I stay peaceful.
Facts.
Minus the ill event that happened when I got shot. I live a peaceful life, man.
Yeah. How often do you how does the motivation come to you? You just kind of set goals like I'm gonna do 3 posts a day, or you just kind of let it naturally flow?
For me, it started off where I started paying attention to it, but it's a natural flow that I have. Like, I just feel the energy of what I feel is needed to be said. I get inspired by something I can read. Like, I do a lot of reading, so in the morning and during my reading time or during my listening time, because I listen to audiobooks, and say I get inspired because I heard something or I read something that opened something up within me. Sometimes I'll make a little text card and put it up, or I'll put a video up that's connected to that.
Yeah. Who made that call when it, like, as far as how you guys did Culture Vultures, and it wasn't just the audio book, like y'all put like a vibe to it where it's like, it wasn't like it's like I felt like you reading a book, but you're not really in the vibe of reading a book. Like, you could just be chill. Like, it's almost like reading a podcast.
Yeah.
Listening to a podcast, excuse me.
Like, the project connected to the movie The Secret of Ball, and I have a project called The Secret of Ball, an audio book, which is actually the soundtrack to the movie, and that's where I build on natural law principles, and it's different chapters that are connected to the movie, and it's over music. Got you. So, my whole thing is, if I do a project, I want it to be like connected heavy to the hip hop culture. So that when people rolling down the street, they can listen to it, but I also have the acapella. And so Dame, heard it also, saying, him being a music guy, he said, shoot, that's perfect. Let's get Boogie to do the music, and we just read what we wrote over this. Yeah. How important
it is for you think, for African Americans to stop practicing nepotism more?
I think it's very important. A lot of times we look beyond our children, we look beyond our family members, but there are family members and people that we know, like our friends also, that are willing to help us with the business we're in. Now that goes back to what we were saying about how some people don't like to support you if they know you, but there are people that really are willing to help you in your business and just want to be a part of it.
That's a fact, like what you did.
The main thing is you just have to be open to finding out who is willing to be involved in what you're doing.
That's a fact.
You can't force nobody to do something they don't want to do. There's going to be times in business where you're going to have somebody that you really care about or like as a person, and then they step away because, they might not like the way you're doing something or whatever is going on in business. And you have to be willing to say, okay, well, if I can't, because you can't force somebody to do something they don't want to do. So True. You have to be willing to move forward regardless of what's going on. And, I'm a firm believer is that we attract people based on how we feel about what we're doing.
True. And another thing, the reason why I asked is because the other day I met a gentleman. You know what? Let me back up to your point. I made a post. I reposted one of your posts the other day. There was a young lady. She had a podcast and she was talking about. Make a long story short, I just see a lot of people at a higher stature, kind of like taking the net shot of what you do on the low. And I just wanted to commend that sister, whoever I ain't gonna say the person's name, but I want to commend the sister for making that post like that, because I felt that way. So it was just, for me, it was powerful.
She did what? Yeah. You said she did what? What did she do?
She reposted talking about, an interview what you was building with Dame, and then somebody else that just started a podcast kind of tried to bring that same vibe. And it just looked real goofy, though.
Right, you talking about Nick Cannon.
Yeah, I ain't want to say it.
Yeah.
It was kind of goofy, I'm going to be real with you.
Well, in that situation, I felt like I watched the whole video. She was kind of going at Dame a little bit, but I'm always for any independent doing anything, man. Like, and Dame don't care anyway. Dame he wouldn't care what she said about him. You know what I'm saying? I'm
I
like
didn't.
that
It's
too,
so funny. I didn't even know that. The clip I was 1 minute, and she was kind of making a comparison to like, you know, you did that and it got mad views, and then somebody kind of tried to piggyback off your idea, and then like
Yeah,
that's the part I
they
seen.
did, definitely. You know, but it's like news is media, man. So they're gonna do that anyway.
How do you deal with that?
You know what, man? I don't have too much burn for what people are doing. You know what I'm saying? I'm just so much focused on my end game and everything I'm doing, if where I don't get turned. I don't turn my attention to what other people are doing too much. I just stay focused on what I'm doing, and if they bite or they want to come behind me, I don't even take that to heart, because at the end of the day, that's how it's gonna happen anyway. You know, they got Del Taco and Taco Bell. You know, they shouldn't be beefing. They got McDonald's and Burger King, and I don't know if they beefing, but it doesn't make sense to beef because everybody got their own thing.
That's facts. That's real.
And we all come with gifts. But the difference with me and a lot of people, or a lot of people that are conscious and comparing to people that are just aware, is that the person conscious usually recognizes their own gifts, so they lose a lot of envy and jealousy and looking around and feeling some kind of way.
Got you. What are some more stuff outside of what we talked about? What are some stuff we could look forward to this summer? I know you got the master class, the 2 movies dropping. What are some long-term stuff you got going on?
Well, right now, what I'm doing is my whole objective now is to move around, speaking engagements, going out teaching, getting online, doing different things, doing this Thinking Ball Out book as well as movie. You know, teaching, man, just actually trying to, more than anything else, bring the culture out of the darkness into the light of themselves and their own power that they hold within. And
you trust me, brother, from the house, you leading the charge. You one of the few people leading the charge with that, and we appreciate that.
Oh, man, I appreciate it, man. Like, it's all praises due to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? I can't really take credit for being used as a vessel to bring forth information, but, you know, I'm doing the best I can with what I have.
That's fair. We feel the impact, bro. I'm gonna
thank you.
I wanna share, before we go, I wanna share a story with you. Like, I got a 13-year-old, right?
Okay.
And he goes to a pretty good school, but as a father, in the way I think, I'm still not happy with it. And I just feel like we need more brothers like you know, with the 7th and 8th graders, because I just feel like they're a lot more motivated when they hear stuff like what you be preaching, and when they're encouraged to be sovereign and make their own money. So is that something that you see yourself doing, like building with the younger generation?
Most definitely, man. I'm trying to build, man. To be honest with you, man, like I'm trying to build with whoever is willing to listen and whoever is willing to have it, you know. And I say that not being funny, but being real, is that I want to help people that need help, man. Like emancipated youngsters that come out of foster care and they just thrown into the streets and put on their own. I want to talk to the people in the prison system. I want to talk to the youth, you know, talk to the adults. I'm just open. I'm really pretty much, man, like I said, I'm open to speaking with anyone that's willing to listen and willing to learn. That's it, man.
Who would you say has helped you the most through your journey?
Great question, man. I've had many different people. I know definitely a friend of mine by the name of Dr. Zarif has been a pillar in my life. He's helped me with a lot of things because he's a well-read person. He's also wrote a few books. You know, of course, being around guys like Damon Dash, Les Brown. I was around him for a few years, and he taught me a lot about the game. He was actually the person that told me to not release Thinking Ball Out until I make a name for myself around hip-hop motivation, because I don't want to be the guy that just got shot and he's trying to get on because of that.
True.
And I'm glad I listened to him, because at first, initially, I was actually a little resistant to that, because I was like, what, man, this is my first project, and this is my project.
No doubt.
And everybody's loving it. He's like, nah, but release something else and a few other things before you get into that. And let that be a story that people hear and they're like, damn, because it's such a dynamic story, you know, to actually the feeling of dying and coming back, that it's like, you know, you want to be careful with it, because that's a treasured story. That could be a treasured story for a lot of people that, you know, that are just living their life day to day, and they're not handling business and not taking care of things and not giving the love they can give to their family and their friends. And what happens when you're looking at no more tomorrows? I was laying on the ground thinking about my children. I was laying there like, damn, did I hug my daughter and my son as much as I could, that I teach them everything. And at the time, they were only like 8 years old. You know, so, you know, there's a lot of real things that are going to come out with this project, Thinking Ball Out.
Well, you know, whatever we could do on this platform to bring light to it, you know we're going to do that. But the type of stuff you be on and Dame be on, that sells itself. I know y'all got y'all little cult following that's moving with y'all whenever y'all move, man.
Yeah, we definitely have a big following. A lot of people hit me up, man. I'm loving the feedback. I'm loving, like, responding to people as much as I can. You know, a lot of people are asking for stuff, but, you know, like, I'm in love with what I'm doing. I can't speak for Dame, but I know that for me, my purpose is hip-hop motivation and just to circulate information and knowledge as I learn it, whether it's from my life or whether it's from something that inspired me through a book or through some form of audio book or a speech of somebody else I've heard in the shop.
Facts. Before we go, is there? I know you just besides Culture Vulture, is there a couple books you could recommend to the followers that we got?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's so many, but I would say if someone wants to look into learning more about universal principles, which is natural law, also the name of it, they should get a good book by the Three Initiates, and the book is called The Kabbalion, and that's KYBALION. And then you can get a book by Neville Goddard called Your Faith is Your Fortune. It's one of my favorites. I like everything by Neville Goddard because what Neville Goddard does, he takes scripture and he brings forth the psychological metaphor within every scripture. And I love stuff like that because that's what it's supposed to be applied to. Scripture is supposed to be applied to yourself.
Absolutely.
And then there's another book that I like called Ancient Future, but that's also on universal principles. And then I'll give one more, which will be Think and Grow Rich, which I named my first project Thinking Ball Out after.
Gotcha.
Because that's one of the grandfathers of self-help.
Random but Relevant, presented by My Block TV. We're here with the hip-hop motivator himself, Yatta Griggs. Brother, we got to go, but brother, I just want to say thank you again. I hope we can continue to do this on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, wherever your freedom allows. And,
absolutely, man. I'm open for it, man. This is a dope platform. You know, I appreciate you having me. Appreciate you staying down with hip hop motivation, everything myself and Dame are doing. You know, we're just trying to just enlighten the culture as much as we can, as much as we're allowed to. And thank you to everyone out there that supported everything we've been doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And don't forget, guys, follow the hip hop motivator. Culture Vulture is out right now. All the links will be in the description. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank Yatta Griggs for joining us. Thank you guys for watching again. You are watching Random but Relevant, presented by My Block TV. I'm your host, Oswald Williams. Good night, everybody.
Peace.
Peace. Appreciate you, Yatta.
Man, no doubt, man. Anytime, man. Whenever you want to holler at me, man, just hit me. I'll be on.
Well, we kind of always wanted to do a talk show. It was just, how do you do it without rushing? How do you do it and make it make sense? So we just took our time and we made it a podcast instead. A little more than a decade ago, social media was just a fun platform for the average citizen to reconnect with friends from high school, college, and sometimes even elementary school. However, in 2018, social media has literally become the way we communicate, and in some cases, the way companies advertise, hire, and fire employees. The best part about it to me is how it's going down is very organic. So meeting Will Styles at the showcase, you know, working with them for a couple years, and then casually meeting Adia, and the first thing that came to my mind was the talk show. So that's what made it kind of go into production really fast because it was already a thought, and it was just trying to figure out how we're gonna do it.